I'll just... We'll take off the rest later. Yeah, I'll just... let's get this on the floor or something. Okay. It's my first time doing anything like this, but I've attended previous 3 shows, so I plan on panels, so I kind of know what they do. But anyway, let me get my notes out here. Alright, Castlevania started back in 1986 in Japan. It's called, the series in Japan is called The Kumato Dracula, which means Demon Castle Dracula. There have been a total, not counting ports, there have been a total of 38 games. Really? 38, yes, I counted them on Wikipedia. So there's the first version for the NES, was there 2 games for the SNES? Yes, there were 2. One of them was a port, though, or a loose remake. It was called Castlevania Dracula X. It was like a loose remake of Dracula X Rondo of Blood, or Chino Rondo. It's in Japan only, but it's basically the Symphony of the Night is the sequel to it. It's a direct sequel. Now, 38 games, that doesn't just mean video games, because there is a game called Castlevania the Metal in Japan, and what a metal game is, it's like something that simulates gambling, like slot machines or any type of casino gambling, but you don't actually win money. You win medals, which are like tokens to use to continue playing other games and stuff like that. To get around the gambling laws. Yeah. There's also 2 Pachi slot games. I'm not exactly sure what Pachi slot is. Maybe like the something. Yeah, something. Yeah. But yeah, all told, I count them all up, there's 38 games. There were 3 on the NES, 3 on the original Game Boy.
What's going on over here?
In here?
I guess, yeah.
Oh, I'm doing the Castlevania panel.
Do you know what the main events are, or where they're located? Because I guess they were back here, but...
Yeah, there were, actually for the past few hours, there was an Talking Games that just ended, and before that there was an ABC's of Anime Prison game, and they were in here.
Oh, so like you have to...
But the biggest event here is 3 hours long.
Something about Dr. Horrible. I actually like to hear Dr. Horrible.
Yeah, that's, not in here, but in the showroom, there's a door that goes into another room adjacent to that, and there should be a line there, so I'm sure you can find out where that is.
I'm so sorry, Tom.
That's alright, that's alright. Oh dear, I hope more people show up. Don't tell me I'm the only Castlevania fan. Yeah, there were like a ton of people in here for a dating game, and then I guess they all just left. Yeah.
They probably didn't know that's what was happening.
Well, they were handing out those little castles at the front entrance, but... Anyway, can anyone name some of the things that influenced Castlevania? Well, the Bram Stoker novel did. Well, yeah, there's that. There's also, but more specifically, the old Universal horror films from the 30s and 40s. Because you've got Frankenstein as the sub-boss, you've got mummies, you've got the Reaper. That's true. Also, the films from Hammer Studios in London. Those are really good. If you watch the ending credits to the original Castlevania, a lot of the names that they put up there are like thinly disguised versions of classic Universal and Hammer actors and directors. Gosh, Bela Lugosi was the best Dracula, but there was a guy who did start basically all the Dracula Hammer films. Well, Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee, there we go. He was the second best Dracula. And of course then in Star Wars he was Count Dooku.
I know, right? That is great.
And then, you know, it's at the end of episode 3 when Darth Vader comes off the slab.
Yeah, it's Frankenstein.
Right. Another influence was a 1985 anime called Vampire Hunter D.
I've heard of that. I've never watched it.
It was dubbed into English, I believe, in 1991 by Screenline Pictures. It takes place in a distant future, but the protagonist is a half-human, half-vampire named D, who is the son of Count Dracula. So that might kind of be the influence for Alucard.
Right, this is just Dracula still backwards.
And that name came from the 1940s Universal film Son of Dracula.
Yeah.
Also, the female protagonist of Vampire Hunter D is a werewolf hunter named Doris Lang. She's a blonde-haired ponytail girl that uses a whip. And it's been brought up that she might be an influence for the character design of Sonia Belmont for Castlevania Legends on the original Game Boy. Another thing, at the end of the movie, the castle goes into the ground when the vampire is defeated.
Yeah.
There's another movie, it's even older, called Lupin III, the Castle of Cagliostro.
I've heard of that one.
It's Miyazaki's first film. I've never seen it, I only recently became aware of it, but apparently a lot of the level designs or backgrounds and the various levels throughout the Castlevania series are taken from shots from the film.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like apparently even like going back to the first game, the game designers must have been really big fans of this anime because I've seen like online they have like screencasts side by side, Lupin III and Castlevania, and they still were each
thing lined up,
yeah.
What was your favorite Castlevania game?
You see, I don't know I have a favorite, I mean, just for various reasons I like Legends a lot, just because I'm into like female protagonists, but also because, okay, the producer of the series, starting, I think during the Game Boy Advance era, like with, I think starting with Harmony of Dissonance, I'm not sure, up until recently, his name is Koji Igarashi. He was the producer of the overall franchise. He had worked on Symphony of the Night, and then later on he became like the front man of the series. And he kind of kicked Legends out of the official timeline because he thought people weren't ready for a female protagonist. And he basically said that, oh, women wouldn't be heroes back then and stuff like that. There was also going to be a second playable character in Curse of Darkness on PS2. It was going to be a female character, but he mixed that as well because he said, well, the theme of the game is revenge, and women wouldn't take revenge. Right. So I just kind of, I feel strongly in support of Sonya just because of that. But my first, okay, what's your first Castlevania game that you played?
I played the first one in the NES, and I went to the second one, and I'm like, oh my god, what the hell was I playing? I played the third one, I was like, oh, there's so much better.
Okay, yeah, I think I borrowed the first one from a friend of mine. I think that was the first I played. The first one I owned was 3. And I was kind of excited because my friend owned 1 and 2, but I had 3, and I thought that was kind of special. The music of the series, a lot of it is inspired by classical music, honestly, and the composer or co-composer for many of the games, starting with Bloodlines on the Sega Genesis and going up to Harmony of Despair, the online multiplayer game that we came out with recently, is Yashuru Yamane.
Oh yeah, that game is good. I didn't try it.
I bought it and I played it. It's pretty good. I think it's kind of like non-canonical because you don't actually play the actual characters. It's like it's kind of like you're playing like characters from this book that opens up like a history or something. So it's really weird, but it's kind of like official, I guess.
Right.
The artwork starting on Symphony of the Night and going through many of the games was done by Yami Kojima, and
that name is really familiar.
I'm not sure what else that she's done, but she's basically responsible for the pretty boy look starting in Symphony of the Night and going through till today. And the last game that she designed the characters for was Harmony of Despair as well. Now, Castlevania started off in 2D, as a 2D platformer, and then
Probably should have said that way.
that's what I was going to ask, 2D or 3D?
Definitely the 2D, because
Yeah, I'm with you there.
yeah.
Also, do you prefer the classic advancing, the classic Vania style, or as it's called, or the Metroidvania where you have open exploration?
I don't know, I kind of like the classic style just because I don't know, it felt more like a story that way. Even though they really didn't have much to work with back then, especially on the NES.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer like the normal stage progression as well, but I like how they put the options of you could visit one stage or not, that they started out with in Castlevania 3 and that they continued with in Rondo of Blood, where you have optional stages that you can go through, but it's still linear progression.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite hero?
Gosh. There's so many good characters, though.
Okay, two-part question. Who's your favorite hero, and then who's your favorite dog?
Oh, gosh. Who is the character from the second game that you played? I forget his name.
Second game?
Yeah.
That's Simon.
Simon, there we go. Well,
Simon's Quest.
Yeah, Simon's Quest. I really like him, just because his game is so awful.
You couldn't get it from the first game.
I realize, but that game kind of set in my mind, hey, this is Simon. Almost the first game, to me, it was as if it was a different character. Just because of the way that the second game played was so awkward.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. They were trying to introduce RPG elements in it. It's kind of like Zelda 2,
Yeah.
where that was radically different from the first game, and then with the third game, they brought it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like Simon Quest. I could tell how it would be really frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially with those villagers. Have you noticed a lot of stuff that they say?
It doesn't make any sense, and there's like...
Hit your head on Deborah Cliff. Look into Death Star and you will die. Let's live here together.
Gee, thanks, villager. Super useless.
Is this the Castlevania?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, who are you?
Come on in.
Who the hell are you? You were not me.
Getting more people.
Thank goodness, we're not the only guys.
It's not just the four. Okay, I'll just ask the same question as ask him. Two-part question. Who's your favorite hero? And then who's your favorite Belmont?
My favorite Belmont is Gabriel.
Oh, from the,
Who's the Shadows?
What's the Shadow? Yeah, that's... I got it here.
Yeah. And my favorite hero is Hector.
Kind of an odd choice, but okay. From Curse of Darkness.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite villain?
Villain?
Yeah.
Let's just say either Zopek or Isaac.
Okay. I'm not sure mine. I'll just go with the big D himself.
Yeah.
Okay, as I mentioned before, I was going to make a DVD and bring in with some footage that I would not have been able to export it in time, because it would take like numerous hours just to export everything. But there was a concert, a Castlevania concert that was organized by fans that was held in Stockholm, Sweden on February 19, 2010. And it was a full orchestra, and they also got Unmade to come in and play some pieces on piano. So you can find it on YouTube.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, I didn't know either until recently. I found a thread on the Castlevania Junction forums. Someone had resurrected the thread from like 2010 or whatever, and I just happened to see it. Wow, that's cool.
I would think that something like that wouldn't happen in Sweden, but rather somewhere, even here in the U.S. or Japan. You know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that there was happening fans in Sweden.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I know that this is fan-based and what I'm about to mention now is official, but there was like some kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Micro-series that first debuted in like Iceland or some...
No way.
Yeah. What? It was like, yeah, a few years ago, I swear I read online, people were showing screen caps, and they're like, well, what is this? We've never seen this before, and apparently it was something that aired on Iceland television.
Oh my god.
I also was going to show some commercials. Some of the Castlevania commercials like that they used to promote the games look really cheesy like back in the day.
Yeah, most of the commercials, especially for stuff like the NES, were just so cheesy.
It's weird. For Castlevania 4, they showed a prototype in the thing, in the commercial, and it was just called Castlevania 4. It didn't have a sequel in the title.
Right.
And I think it was like for internal promotion, because at the end it mentioned that it mentioned something about making money. So I think it was like for like businesses or something, yeah. It's like a 1.5 minute promo that I found on YouTube. But it's weird. The narrator is like talking about all different places you can go through and explore and stuff like that, and all the terrain that you would have to cover. And he's especially unnaturally excited when he says, through a room. Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're going through a room, but he sounds like so excited about
Every other Castlevania game.
There were actually at least 2 canceled games that never saw the light of day. As far as I can tell, there was going to be one on the Sega 32X.
Oh my god, that freaking add-on was so bad.
That was going to be in 1996, and apparently what Koji Igarashi said was that the ideas were kind of ported over as Symphony of the Night.
Right.
I have no further information about that. There was also going to be Castlevania Resurrection on the Sega Saturn. It was going to come out initially in 1999, then it was delayed like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
It was pushed into 2000, and then finally it was just scrapped.
Yeah, because the entire console was a giant flop. Because when they released it, they didn't tell anybody that they released it, so none of the stores actually knew that song. Oh, no, not the Dreamcast. I thought you said the Saturn.
Maybe I did. I meant the Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah. No, that was a gigantic success.
Yeah, I think the Dreamcast came out on September 9th, 1999. Hello.
Oh, my. Hello?
Sorry? Yeah, it was going to involve time travel. First of all, this was going to be the first game that would have been developed by Konami US.
Wow.
And it ultimately never happened. It was going to involve time travel. They were going to pull a new character named Victor Belmont, who he kind of rejected his fate. And he was going to be pulled, and so was Sylvia Belmont from Castlevania Legends. He was going to be pulled back in time. She was going to be pulled forward in time, and they were going to meet in the year 1666 to kind of confront some evil together. It was going to be 3D, and they have like footage on the internet that you can see of like the early test footage. They were mostly focusing on Sony, I've seen, because there's a lot more footage of her than there is of him.
Right.
Ultimately never happened. I have like really no other details about what the plot would have been there. But
Castlevania game was on the Nintendo 64.
There were two. There was, the original was just called Castlevania, confusingly enough. And then the sequel, which is kind of a sequel, but it's more like a director's cut of the first game, because they said like the first game was incomplete, so they added like 2 new characters for like a backstory to the original 2 characters' story.
I remember that game was so bad.
The second one was called Legacy of Darkness. It was like a prequel to Castlevania.
Was that the bad one? Because I remember there was one for the Nintendo 64 that I played at a friend's house. It was just so bad.
Those were the first 3D Castlevania games.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Terry Fernandez, the schoolgirl character that play as, but the other one is named Reinhard Schneider. He's like supposedly distantly related to the Belmont family or something. Now, apparently what happened was Koji Igarashi had removed not only Castlevania Legends, but the 2 Nintendo 64 games, as well as Circle of the Moon, the first title on the Game Boy Advance. He removed all of those from the official timeline.
Wow.
Now, apparently all of them, from what I've heard, I haven't had confirmation, but apparently, from what I've heard, all of them except Legends have been reinstated.
Wow.
But now that's kind of like no longer, it's no longer relevant because in 2010 they kind of abandoned the original timeline.
Yeah.
Koji Igarashi is no longer a producer of the series. What happened is they handed it off to like a Spanish company named Mercury Steam to do the Lords of Shadows sub-series, and that's an alternate universe. So it's like the original universe has been abandoned as of 2010.
Wow.
That's when Harmony of Despair came out. Yeah, the multiplayer game. That was the last one in the original series. And if you want to discount the non-canonical games, then the last one for the original series that came out was Order of Ecclesia in 2008. Well, yeah, it's the final, traditional game in the series, and it actually stars a female character named Sonoa. Basically, it deals with, she's a member of the Order of Ecclesia, which is kind of a 19th century group that's kind of trying to take care of Dracula when the Belmonts aren't around, or something like that. And then that was followed up a month later by Castlevania Judgement on the Wii, which is kind of it involves time travel, bringing all these different characters from throughout the franchise together to like fight each other. I don't have a Wii, so I haven't played it. So.
Yeah, I haven't played that one either. Was it one of those games that was like super gimmicky, where you have to use the remote for like really stupid stuff?
I don't have a Wii, so I'm not sure. It's the first and only fighting game in the series so far. Castlevania has been known for its fighting games, but they decided to make Castlevania fun. Yeah. Okay, games that have been inspired by Castlevania, you can call them Castlevania clones. There was this game called Frankenstein on the NES. It came out in 1991. It's not very similar to Castlevania, but you can tell it's got the same Gothic European-looking scenery, except you're going to go with Frankenstein, even though that's not the name of the monster, right? Dracula. Also, there's a game on the PC-9800 I've never heard of.
Oh my god.
It's called Rusty.
That was a really cool console. The only problem with it was never released here.
Yeah, that's what I heard. There's this game called Rusty, which is completely and totally a Castlevania ripoff. It's like everything, she uses a whip, and they very similar enemies, very similar layout. Basically, you play a character named Rusty Sprinkle. And she has to save her European village from the evil Bloody Mary, who is seeking to resurrect Count Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
That just strikes fear in your heart, doesn't it?
That sounds really messed up.
But you know what? I downloaded the game, I played it on an emulator, it was actually pretty good.
Really?
And I was able to download the music soundtrack as well.
Wow.
Although you really can't take it seriously, especially since she dressed herself like probably even stinkier than so many Belmont, but I know if you were here when I first asked this question. Do you prefer the traditional linear progression of the stages, or do you prefer the more open exploration of start of the Symphony of the Night?
I'm really good. I would just prefer the open area, but I don't mind. If I like the game, I would play it, doesn't matter the platform.
And 2D or 3? 3?
Yeah, 3. Okay, 3D is like where it was like squarish or like really flat looking or something.
2D is like you're just moving left to right to the end of the stage.
The 3D is where you can like move around.
3D is like kind of an overhead view where you can just, move forward and go around and explore and stuff, but I don't know, 3D doesn't feel like Castlevania to me. It doesn't. But it seems that that's the way that the console games are going, and 2D is being like limited to the handheld systems.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I heard the sequel came out to what was the Shadow, the Mirror of Fate on the 3DS. I haven't played it.
I haven't played it, but I watched like
I watched the video.
It looks really good.
It looks good. I've heard mixed reviews of it. They're trying to do like an homage to like the original games. Yeah.
And I heard that Lord of Shadows takes before the original timeline of the Castlevania.
No, it takes place in a completely separate universe. Nothing else counts.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Now, there's going to be a Lords of Shadow 2 on the PS3 to be like the final part of the trilogy, and then after that, it could go anywhere. They could have another company that continues it on, or Konami could decide to revisit the original universe. But speaking of the original universe, it seems that Koji Igarashi, when he was in charge of it, he seemed to run out of ideas, I think, because he starts setting games in the future with Elias Storm and Thomas Oro. It's like, it takes place like 2035 or something like that, in Japan.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, really? I mean, I understand that even going back to the original storylines for the first games in the series, I've read translations of the Japanese instruction manuals, and they make it pretty clear that Dracula resurrects once every 100 years. Also, it's interesting, even in the storyline for the first game, they mentioned the legendary hero Christopher, who ended up being the hero of the original Game Boy titles. Castlevania, The Adventure, and Belmont Revenge. So even back then they had Christopher in mind, and they were kind of building him up as the first one. But then a month after The Adventure came out, starring Christopher, they came out with Castlevania 3, which starred Trevor. And then they made him the first. And then they came out with Legends and said, no, Sylvia was first. And then Koji Igarashi kicked her out and said, okay, we're going to go back to year 1000 or whatever. And Leon Belmont and Lament of Innocence.
I never really played Lament of Innocence. I didn't really get into it.
Yeah.
They were for a limited timeline, especially with the Castlevania stuff.
But the thing is, even though he seemed to be setting games in the future, and if you know what happens to Dracula in those games, it's lame. But the thing is, even if Dracula resurrects only once every 100 years, okay, you got other Belmonts sitting around. You got to be training or something, because you got to keep the skills up to pass it on to the next person. They could deal with other vampires. But they don't. I mean, yeah, but they could have. I mean, if they needed to, if they want to make more games in the series, it doesn't have to be dealing with Dracula.
The vampire lord, like yeah, Sean was for one of his children or something.
Yeah, really. Yeah, they could have done anything. They didn't have to like go. Okay, we're going to go over to Japan now, and we're going to go like into the 21st century. It's like, no.
Yeah, I'm good. I want to stay back in the 1600s.
And in the Sorrow games, they said that part of the backstory was that there was a Belmont in 1999 named Julius that was part of the final war that defeated Dracula like once and for all. People were thinking, hey, maybe we'll get a game based on that. Never happened. And then they brought the novel into like the continuity of Castlevania, and they made Quincy Morris from the novel, the Texan guy. They made him a Belmont. Seriously,
I never read the novel.
Oh, you know? Yeah, it came out in 1897. Now, the thing is, it started like a few different people, like a group of people who finally went to defeat Dracula, and Quincy Morris was one of them. He was a guy from Texas that had come over to England. Well, according to Castlevania, since they brought the novel into it, he was like a descendant of the Belmonts.
Wow.
And in fact, Castlevania Bloodlines on the 6th Genesis stars John Morris, which is his son. And then we got Castlevania Portrait of Ruin on the Nintendo DS, which stars Jonathan Morris with his son's son. So, yeah, the novel kind of counts towards Castlevania, as weird as that sounds, even though it was originally inspired by the novel.
Right.
There's a lot of fan-made Castlevania stuff on the internet. Have any of you like browsed like DeviantArt or what was your fan thing?
Well, I made this one dude, his name is Greg Victor Belmont, and he knows about his family heritage and everything, but he tries to ignore that, but he can't. That he gets, bit by this vampire lord named, Lord Jason. This is what they'll pop into my head. And then, he's not fully turned. Later on in years, he gets fully turned because he has to drink his blood. Then, I can't remember here. I haven't really worked on it that much.
Yeah, I try to browse for like some of your Belmont fan art because I have a website devoted to Castlevania Legends, and I asked, artists permission, hey, can I have your fan art for my site? Of course, now the server that the site's been on for a few years, the technical support is on it, so it says that when I try to log in, I can't, so I would have to find like a new place to host it anyway.
That's right. What are you using to host?
It's something called 741.com. It's like the login screen is still there, but I can't log in or nothing.
Server might be down completely.
And when I try emailing technical support, I think it bounces back.
Wow.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. Anyone ever see the Nintendo Power cover for the issue that dealt with Simon's Quest?
I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, the cover showed Simon, who looks up from what he does in the game, because he's wearing all this armor and a helmet and he's got a cape and stuff. But anyway, it caused a lot of controversy back in the day because he was actually holding Dracula's severed head in his hand.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
like, hey, let's draw this. So,
I love how that issue, like the game was so hard and nobody could figure out how to do it that they actually had to make a strategy guide just to tell people you have to crouch at this on the side of the mountain and wait for tornadoes to break in.
yeah. Anyone ever seen any video game nerd?
Yeah.
He did like a 4-part retrospective of Castlevania. And actually, Simon's Quest was his first review ever. And just said that. Yeah, his first review was Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest.
You know that?
Yeah. The character, not useful personally, but the character is like, that's one of his like worst games ever,
Right.
supposedly, but license works. There's actually been some Castlevania license out to other media. I don't know if you would remember this or have ever seen it, but there was a series that ran from 1989 to 1992 on NBC called Captain N, the Game Master. No. Yeah, okay. That was my show. That was something I grew up with, and I created a website devoted to it and stuff like that. It involved a 15-year-old kid in the second scene that was sucked through his television set into video land, where like all the different game characters converge. The thing is, it's a 1980s cartoon series, and if you know anything about 1980s cartoon series, it was pretty lame and hokey.
Yeah, I can imagine. Was it like really, really choppy, like the animation and stuff like that?
Well, the thing is, the first season, they were okay, but you can spot numerous animation errors throughout it anyway. First season was animated by a South Korean studio, then they switched to a Japanese studio in season 2, then they switched to another South Korean studio in season 3, where the episodes were cut down to like 10 minutes long.
Wow.
Because they had to share a half-hour block with Super Mario World.
Oh, God.
And the animation was like downgraded really severely. But anyway, Simon Belmont was one of the members of the M team, which went up against Mother Brain from Metroid, as well as her lackeys. And her lackeys for the show, I don't know what they were thinking. They picked King Hippo from Punch-Out.
Why?
Exactly. Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus. And Dr. Wily from Mega Man, and as well as the Count from Castlevania. They never called him Dracula on the show. He was always just the Count, and he was really lame. He was like really pasty and wrinkly, and he had a yellow suit.
Oh my.
A yellow suit, yeah.
That would have been awful.
Yes, he switched to a black suit in his one season 3 appearance, which was an improvement, but anyway, Simon. Oh, what they did to Simon. Granted, they didn't have much of a character to work with on it from the NES back then, but still, if you look at the class art and he looked like, especially Castlevania 2, he looked like a warrior. I mean, Castlevania 1 box art, he looked like Conan, but anyway. How did they screw this up so badly? I have no idea. They had to wear, like, cargo pants, a blue fur coat, aviator goggles, and he had like his skin was like really tan, and he had spiked platinum blonde hair.
Oh, God.
And he always pulled a mirror out of his coat, and he would stare at his reflection and take his reflection in the mirror because he thought he was like the most handsome person ever. He had like a really huge ego. But he got scared of like anything, especially on his homeworld. Castlevania was
awful.
Yeah, it is. But he would claim like he's like some really heroic warrior, but he would always screw things up.
Right.
And in this one episode, he shot himself accidentally with a love arrow. And he looked at Mother Brain and fell in love with her.
Oh.
And they decided to get married.
Wait, what?
Yeah. They decided to get married. It didn't happen. The wedding was interrupted. And he eventually got shot with an antidote arrow. I'm serious. This show is really, really cornball. But yeah, it ran for like 34 episodes. And gosh.
But he would talk about how like he was the handsomest and he would like flirt with the princess and stuff like that. And
So he was like a cocky dude, but yet he was a pussy.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What else did, he once, they were on a jungle world called Congo Land, based on a Donkey Kong game. Except this was before Donkey Kong Country ever came out. But they reimagined Donkey Kong as like a jungle world.
Right.
And Donkey Kong was like the size of King Kong, or even, or even bigger.
Whoa.
Anyway, they were out on a quest, and Simon, he dressed up as Indiana Jones.
Why?
Well, I guess it's a small leap, because he had a whip.
Yeah,
He took the hat out of his backpack. By the way, he had a backpack that was like his hardest or whatever, because he could store like an infinite amount of items in it. He would just pull whatever out of his backpack.
Nice.
Yeah,
He was money bag and pull everything out of it.
Another thing, there was a series of novels called Worlds of Power. They were like loose novels based on video games, so they didn't work for Science Quest.
Wow.
Now, this is from 1991, and apparently the main purpose was try to get kids to read, and they figured if they based them on video games, and apparently it worked. It sold like combined total of like millions of copies.
Wow.
This one's based on Science Quest, and it's kind of like Captain Ed. It involves a kid being pulled from our world into the world of Castlevania. He meets up with Simon. It's really hokey. So, I mean, Simon's not like he is on Captain Ed. He's more serious, but it's like the kid is named Timothy Bradley, and he's afraid of the school bully, and he's got an addiction to chocolate, and and he defeats Dracula by holding up a Game Boy or something like that, which is never mentioned in the story up to that point, but,
What?
yeah, it's like, how long is it?
Like, kills that idea? It looks a bit high.
138 pages. It uses the pseudonym FX9, the author's real name that's on it.
Oh, God. Yeah, I wouldn't put my name on that either.
Back in the mid-2000s, there was a comic book. This was the same paperback release. It was based on Castlevania The Adventure for the Game Boy. It stars Christopher Belmont. The writer says he picked it because Christopher wasn't very developed, according to him. So he felt he was more free to make his own stuff.
That's a good idea.
It's 5 issues, and they call it the entire thing here if you want to pass it around or whatever. They introduced like a wife for him, so we got like a new Belmont in there. Dracula is naked like throughout the entire. I don't understand that. He's also blue skinned.
Blue man.
Yeah.
Never developed peace.
Okay, who is your favorite female character from the series?
Well, I haven't read that super
They literally just shit-pasted the same frame. Oh my god. Female. I don't actually think I've read any games where it was a female lead.
Well, it doesn't have to be a female lead, it's just a female character from the franchise.
I don't really know, honestly.
I kind of prefer Sonia from Castlevania Legends, but I also like Charlotte from Portrait of Ruin.
She's like a spellcaster. There's also Cypher from Castlevania 3, who you don't learn is a female until the ending. She is like a monk. She was a girl? It was a girl. The hooded character? Yeah.
Yeah, no. I went to the entire...
They did basically a Samus Aran.
Right.
Same thing. But yeah, her backstory, but it doesn't come across in the English version, but in the Japanese instruction manual, said that she had pretended to be a male to join a monastery. So she was like a monk. The early storyline for the series was extremely butchered when original came over here, and it seemed that the writer of the stories and the instruction manuals was more interested in making bad puns. He copied like some of the lines are like "good evening" and stuff. Like if you read the storylines, or in Castlevania 3, they talk about like forks, forks in the road, where you have to make a decision which way to go, and then they say sorry, no spoons. Which way do you go, horse? Which way do you go? Yeah, if you read like the original instruction manuals, which I'm sure you can find the text online for that stuff, but the storylines were nowhere close to what the original Japanese versions were. Basically, in the original, it says that once every 100 years, the power of good is overcome by evil, mostly through humans desiring to black masses and sacrifice people. A lot of times the plot of Resurrect Dracula is to sacrifice a maiden. In fact, you see that on some of the later games. But yeah, I've seen some actual Castlevania fan films online. Really low budget stuff, obviously. It's fun. But another thing that's interesting is sometimes people make fan trailers for hypothetical Castlevania films just by editing other film clips together. Like I saw one of some guy took Bram Stoker's Dracula, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the first shot of the web, the best heard the story of Joan of Arc, Evil Dead, or Army of Darkness and the Servants. Just edited all together, all along with Van Helsing, and basically made a movie, a trailer for Castlevania starring Gary Oldman as Dracula and Hugh Jackman as Simon Belmont. Oh, that would have been a good movie. That would be hilarious to see Hugh Jackman as Simon. Although I think he probably looks more like Trevor. He does, but the thing is, he's just got that stereotypical manly look, so I think it would work. And I think that they included a shot of Mila Jovovich from Joan of Arc. I think that was meant to be Sonya, probably. In fact, Paul W.S. Anderson, who had, I believe he directed the Resident Evil films. He's supposedly still attached to do Castlevania, even though it's been stalled and delayed numerous times already. He still wants to do it, and a lot of people have been joking that he would test me with this and basically feminine Simon into Simone Belmont. I don't know if he would do that, but
what is going on in the room?
I think they're doing the setup for
The dance.
Or, no, I think they're doing is this when they're doing the Dr. Horrible thing one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did this dance
There's still a 3-hour dance later on. They're doing set up for that, I guess. But I think the 2 o'clock they're going to be setting up for the concert.
Yeah. It says here at 2 o'clock the band started, and then at 3 p.m. is It Is Noise. Yeah, that's the band name?
Yeah, that's the band name. They were here 1 year ago in April as well. It's like they cover like anime songs and stuff like that.
Are they any good?
They're okay. It seems the last time that I attended their concert, which was the only time that I've ever attended their concert, but it seemed they sometimes were like they didn't know which song they were going to play next or whatever. They were kind of confused over what to do sometimes, but overall they were pretty good. I bought some other games. This is my original Castlevania 3 that I bought you.
Wow.
Whoa.
Huh? I got this back in Toys R Us in Ocala. Back during the period shortly after the Super NES came out in 1991, they were discounting the NES games. And what we do is Toys R Us, the way they have their games set up, they have these flaps on the hooks on the wall that have tickets in them. That would have the box art like in these plastic flaps.
Right.
So you know what game it is, and you would pull a ticket out and you have to take it to the counter to pick up the game.
Right.
So that's what I got that. I managed to get a bunch of NES games cheaply that way. And there's the Super Nintendo 64 games.
I remember playing the ones that both the line.
Yeah, Legacy of Guardians, yeah.
I remember playing that one before, and I had so much difficulties on it. So I was just started out playing video games.
Isn't a lot of the games unfinisherable?
No idea. I'm not sure which one that is. Some people have said that doing Castlevania 3 with Trevor alone is impossible, but I've seen a speed run where someone was able to play the game with just Trevor, no partners. And I brought some on Game Boy Advance games to circle them in. This is Castlevania Double Pack. It's basically a reissuing of Harmony of Dissonance and Area of Sorrow in one part. And this is Area of Sorrow. And this is the original NES game ported to Game Boy Advance. And Harmony of Dissonance. I think this is the entire Castlevania CGA library right here.
Game Boy Advance had a ton of games.
And I did manage to find Castlevania The Adventure and Lessons for the original Game Boy. I still haven't found Belmont's Revenge. I have a ton of Castlevania games back at home. And it includes some of the original instruction manuals as well. And some people have even sent me some Castlevania games, like in the original boxes. The boxes for the NES are really hard to find because a lot of people have just thrown them out.
Yeah, and they're also really, really expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I know a guy who has an original Legend of Zelda, still in the box, still print wrap.
Wow.
Store.
There was a manga for, like a manga adaptation of Curse of Darkness.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I saw it in school and never picked it up.
I never heard of it.
I've heard of it. Because I saw the picture of the cover.
Now, one interesting thing is a few years ago, and this quietly disappeared, but comic book writer Warren Ellis was going to do an animated feature based on Castlevania 3. And there was like concept sketches online and stuff like that, but nothing ever came of it. And for the live action film, Paul Anderson's been attached to do it, and there were rumors like back in the day that this obscure Russian-born American girl named Dario Stravinsky was going to play Sylvia Belmont, and Jonathan Frakes, who played William Riker on Star Trek The Next Generation, was going to play her grandfather. That was on the Internet Movie Database, and it eventually was taken down, but what's interesting is the person that's currently producing the Lords of Shadow series, his name is Dave Koch. He has recently done an online webisode live-action Castlevania series.
Is it good?
It's okay. It seems to follow the character relationships from the new Lords of Shadow universe more so than it does from the original series. Like Simon's Dracula's son and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Trevor is Simon's stepfather, and then they have Uncle Reinhardt, so they're just pulling names from like all over the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's 7 episodes long, runs a little over an hour. You can see it online. It's okay. One interesting thing though is they got Michael Dorn, who played Worf on Star Trek, as one of Dracula's henchmen.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And Marina Sirtis, who played Deanna Flores, like a gypsy woman.
Deanna Flores.
From Next Generation, she was the empathic counselor.
I don't remember.
She always sat on a bridge next to Captain Picard and spouted useless information that was apparent to everyone.
I don't remember, to be completely honest.
Okay.
It's been a while. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, but apparently she had gotten Michael Dorn to come in on the project, and they do okay. I like the Dracula from the show, most of all, and the guy who plays Simon's okay too. It's worth just watching at least once. They also do like 2 behind-the-scenes specials to show how they filmed it. Anyone have the time?
1:57.
Oh, the next panel should be coming in
Pretty soon.
shortly. I think that's 10
I have a question for you. What's your favorite Castlevania game?
I believe that's the third one.
The third one?
Yeah, the third one's pretty good. I also like Super Castlevania 4. And I like Legends just because of Sonya, even though the gameplay itself is kind of repetitive, not that good. But yeah, I think mostly 3, 4, and Legends. Want to go see that? Alright, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.